Hello.
Hi. Did you see my fruit basket?
Oh, yes, beautiful.
I got it at Coal Save. It's my favorite kosher grocery store.
Yes. Which one of the 5 towns is that in?
I think it's in Inwood because you have to go across the Rockaway Turnpike to get to it.
Oh, okay.
It might be Lawrence, though. I don't know. I never can tell when I'm going across those little boundaries. Yeah. Anyways, but we could talk about Coal Save and the 5 towns and fruit baskets all night. But you called in for a reason, so let's talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm honored to be a caller on your show.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask your guidance about is this. I feel that God is trying to send me so many beautiful blessings. He already has. And sometimes I get the feeling that maybe I'm blocking them due to feelings of unworthiness. And I would like to know how I can make it easier for God to bestow the blessings on me that He is trying to bestow. Because sometimes I get the inkling that my own doubts and feelings of inadequacy or unworthiness, as unfounded as they may be, are blocking, are creating an obstacle, like a wall between me and the blessings He is trying to bestow on me and on my life. That He's trying to bring into my life.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So first of all, for everyone listening, this is a real concept. This is not just our callers' feelings. Like, this is a real concept. It speaks about this in Kabbalah and Chassidus. One of the sources for it is actually a teaching from Levi Yitzchak Berditchever, who explains in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. Yes, he says in the name of the Baal Shem Tov that there's a verse in Psalms, in Tehillim. It says, Hashem tzilcha, Hashem is your, well, you could translate the word tzeil as shade. And I think more conventional understanding of that verse is Hashem is your protective shade. But the Baal Shem Tov taught Hashem tzilcha, tzeil, it can also be a shadow. Hashem is your shadow. What does it mean, Hashem is your shadow? That just like your shadow perfectly mimics all of your movements, the way that Hashem runs the world is that He reciprocates. He mirrors. He matches. So what we project is what we get back. Yes. So it's a real concept. And specifically, when we are happy and joyful and full of gratitude, then more cause for happiness and joyousness and gratitude comes at us. And if God forbid the opposite, we could actually initiate a vicious cycle, which is difficult to break. So what you're describing is very real. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. I don't want to argue with you, but I'm going to argue with you. You sound like you are grateful.
Well, thank you for saying that. And that is an excellent point.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. I am very grateful for what God has given me. I just feel that sometimes I get the feeling there's so much more, and He's just trying to say, Jody, allow the good to come into your life. I'm trying to bring even more good into your life. But if you don't think you're worthy of receiving it, then I can't bring it into your life.
Okay. So first of all, there is more because God is infinite. So there's always more. But let's talk about this. So you do have the gratitude. Absolutely, you have the gratitude. But the gratitude is sort of intermingled with another feeling, which we'll call self-doubt, where you are so appreciative of your blessings and you see your blessings and you're counting your blessings. But at the same time, you have this feeling of, you called it unworthy, that you're not worthy of the blessings, and you're worried that because you're not feeling worthy of the blessings, that could be an impediment to receiving more of the blessings. I hear that. Okay.
That is exactly correct.
Okay. I'm glad that I understood it, but you made it really easy to understand because you're extremely articulate. So let me suggest something to you. I'm going to sidestep the whole thing. I'm not going to even deal with the unworthiness because we could talk about self-esteem and I could try to boost your self-esteem. But I think we could just sidestep it. We don't even need to go there, and I can give you a hack. Are you interested in a little hack that might work here?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, great. So in order to explain this to you, I'm going to have to back up, and I'll talk in general about prayer. What's the deal with prayer? Isn't it selfish to give God a shopping list? Like, give me this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Like, if we're really God-conscious people, we should just show up and say, God, thank you for everything. And I put myself in your hands and do whatever it is that you want to do. And yet we are told to pray. Yeah, I know. And yet we are told to pray. And we're, according to many opinions, it's actually one of the 613 commandments is to express our needs, to turn to God and ask for our needs. So how do we reconcile that? Is it selfish to pray and to ask God for our needs, or is it proper? So the answer is like this. It depends why you're asking. It depends why you're asking. Mm. I don't think a lot of people realize that one of the models, like archetypes for prayer in Judaism, is Hannah, the mother of Shmuel or Samuel. She was a prophetess and a very holy woman. And in the book of Samuel, it describes when she was barren and she went to the sanctuary we call it Shiloh, or the anglicized version is Shiloh, but Shiloh reminds me of a Civil War battle. So Shiloh, Mishkan Shiloh, she went to the sanctuary in Shiloh, and she was praying for a child because she was barren. She was praying for a child. And this is before she conceived Shmuel, the prophet, Samuel. So the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, his name was Eli, and he comes in. He saw her praying, and it says that her lips were moving, but she didn't make a sound. Now, if you've ever seen Jewish people praying, especially what we call Amidah, which means standing, because it's the standing prayer. It's the central prayer where you stand. You'll notice that we move our mouths, but we don't make a sound. It's silent prayer. And that's because we are imitating how Hannah prayed. So, so Eli, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, he's the one who runs the sanctuary. He comes in. He sees her praying, moving her mouth, not making a sound. And she's sort of like murmuring to herself. Like, that's what it looks like. Because we started praying this way after her. So before that, it wasn't like a known thing. So he didn't know what she was doing. He thought she was like maybe like talking to herself. So he asked her, are you drunk? And she says, no, I'm not drunk. I'm a brokenhearted woman, and I'm praying for a child. Now, I'm going to just cut to the chase here. But if you learn the laws of the Holy Temple, you will know that if somebody is drunk, they are not asked if they're drunk, they're immediately removed. So he didn't really mean, are you drunk? Like intoxicated with alcohol. He meant, are you being indulgent? Are you spiritually drunk? You're in the holiest place in the world. The Mishkan was the sanctuary. That's where the Holy of Holies was, where God's presence was revealed in this world. You're in the holiest place in the world, and you're praying about what you need. Like, is that appropriate? So it's drunk. It's spiritually drunk. It's indulgent. It's self-absorbed. So she says to him, let me tell you something. I'm praying for a child. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You're coming to God with your needs. She says, but no, listen. The rest of the conversation, she says to him, I want this child to give the child to Hashem. And as soon as he is able, I'm going to bring him here, and he will serve God here in this house, which is exactly what happened. She raised him until he was, until he was self-sufficient, and she brought him to the sanctuary, and he lived there. He lived there. Samuel lived there. He was raised there. And so basically what was she saying to him? She was saying, yes, I'm asking for a child. You think I'm asking for a child from me? It's not for me. It's for God. I want to give this to God. That's my gift. If God gives me this child, then I have the ability to dedicate that child back to God. So when we imitate...
So it's of a pure motivation.
Yes, completely.
Not a selfish motivation.
Correct. Yeah. Real altruism, where our only concern is to be givers. So it's interesting. If you ask God, make me rich. Why? Because I want to be rich. It's a little bit self-indulgent. But if you say, God, give me the opportunity to give you my wealth, to dedicate wealth to charitable causes. So then I'm asking to be a giver.
I see. That's extremely insightful and helpful.
Let's go back to your issue, and maybe even you could intuit why I say this will be a hack. Because your problem is you're not sure if you're worthy of more blessings. So how does this clear that up and avoid the whole issue?
Because that's kind of not relevant
That's
necessarily,
right.
it seems.
You got it.
Because
you
this is for...
No, say it to everyone else, because everyone else is listening. They want to understand it.
Thank you. Because whether or not I am worthy is not relevant to God. Well, he believes we are all worthy. The prayer must be for the higher good.
Hold on.
Going to
Repeat that phrase. Hold on. That was a great phrase. Could you say that again?
Thank you.
I want everyone to hear that. Just the prayer must be for what?
The higher good.
I love it. Okay, sorry to interrupt you. Keep going. You're doing great.
Thank you. So whether or not I'm worthy is not relevant in God's eyes, because God is saying, if I say a prayer, if one says a prayer for the higher good, something that I will be able to gift back to God, then that prayer will be answered whether or not I may see myself as worthy.
You got it. You nailed it. Yeah. Can I tell you one of my favorite parables?
Yes.
Okay. This parable is about a guy. It's not a real guy. It's just a parable. He's a parable guy. And he's driving in the car one night. What was his name? Whatever you want it to be. Okay. He was driving in a car one night, and he was hating life. He was miserable. And he wasn't a big believer, but he was so miserable with his life, he actually murmured a prayer. And he said, God, I hate my life. Give me a new life. And in the middle of the car,
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's just a parable. Don't get too excited. And in the middle of,
okay.
in the middle of the car, God starts speaking to him. You remember, like John Denver? Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
See, I really appreciate the callers to this show. A lot of times I'll drop a reference like that. People won't know what I'm talking about. Remember when John Denver was in the car and George Burns started talking to him?
Yes.
I love it. Okay, fine. So, and people who don't know what I'm talking about, you just go Google John Denver driving the car, George Burns talking, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so anyways, this guy's in the car, and he's like, oh, God, I hate my life. Give me a new life. And what do you know? God answers him in the middle of the car, and he says to him, a new life? A new life? Yeah, sure. You're in luck today. I have a new life for a very reasonable price. The guy says, what? How much is that? And God says, well, how much you got? The guy's like, I got about $20 on me. God says, okay, give me the $20. The price of your new life is $20. The guy's driving. Remember, he's like, he looks at the gas tank and he's like, but I'm running out of gas. I need to put more fuel in the tank. And if I give you my $20, that's all I have. I won't be able to get more gas. God says, oh, you have a car. Price for your new life just went up. It's $20 in your car. The guy says, hold on a second. If I give him my car, how am I going to get to work in the morning? God says, oh, you're gainfully employed. Yeah, so the price for your new life has gone up again. It's $20, your car, and your job. The guy says,
wow.
The guy says, if I give you my job, how am I going to pay the mortgage? Mortgage? Oh, you're a homeowner. Yeah. Seems that the price for your new life has gone up again, once more. The price for your new life is $20, your car, your job, and your house. The guy says, God, if I give you my house, where are my wife and children going to live? God says, oh, dear. The price of your new life has gone up again. It is $20, your car, your job, your house, your wife, and your kids. At this point, the guy realizes he better shut up, because every time he makes a comment, it's getting worse. So now he's not speaking.
Wow.
He says, So God says to him, all right. Now, you have any comments? You want to say anything? Okay. Now, before I give you your new life, I'm going to give you your brand new life. I need you to do a few things for me. Is that okay? The guy says, Okay. God says, first thing I want you to do, God says, you see this $20? It's not your $20, God says. It's my $20. Was your $20, and now it's mine. I want you to spend it for me. But it's my $20, God says. So you're going to spend it, but because it's mine, you can only buy things I want. And God says, you see this car? It's not your car. It's my car now. I want you to drive it. But because it's my car, you have to drive it to places where I would want to go. God says, see this job? It's not your job. It's my job. But I want you to show up there every day and do business the way that I want business conducted. You see this house, God says? It's not your house. It's my house. But I want you to live in it. But I want you to live in it the way a house of God is lived in, with open doors and hospitality. And you see this wife and children, this family. God says, they're not your wife and children. They're my wife and children, and I want you to treat them as such. Can you do all of this for me? The guy says, God says, great. Then here's your $20. Here's your car. Here's your job. Here's your house. Here's your wife and kids. And here's your new life. The difference between the old life and the new life was simply ownership. To whom does it belong? In his old life, which he detested, it was all his. In his new life, he doesn't own a thing. It all belongs to God. But he is assigned with the holy task of making use of it. And that's all of us.
Wow.
That's all of us. All the blessings that you have, and I know that you're blessed and that you feel blessed, those aren't for you to use. Those are for you to give away. You know, I got my fruit basket here, and I'm thinking about fruits. You know, think about fruits, like a red tamarillo. And if you don't know what a red tamarillo looks like, just let me have fun here. Look, this is how they look when they grow on the tree. Look at that. Okay, I don't know if you're still watching, but okay. So the red tamarillo, gorgeous little fruit. But I want to tell you something. A red tamarillo tree doesn't eat red tamarillos. No, it doesn't. An apple tree doesn't eat apples. A plum tree doesn't eat plums. An orange tree doesn't eat oranges. The tree grows the fruit for others to consume. So your blessings are not for you. Your blessings were given to you as a stewardship that you are being entrusted by God to make good use of those blessings.
Oh, I love that perspective.
And if you are of service, then I want to tell you something. There's no limit to the amount of goodies that you can run to the back and, go to the kitchen and grab as many platters as you want because you're coming out to serve God's kids.
That's a perspective of abundance.
There's no limit.
Right. I appreciate this so much because it's really changed my perspective, especially on prayer.
That's
and
great.
I really appreciate that because I'm going to have this in the forefront of my mind from now on when I pray.
That is so cool. That's great. And
Thank you.
Thank you. This was a wonderful
amazing
discussion. Really appreciate it.
Hey, this is Shais Taub. You were just watching a clip from this class. If you want to get the full context, the full class that this clip that you just watched was from, you watch right here. Click right